The Campfire Council, Thunderhand speaks. Okay, so I want to talk about some things that have come up, and there's been some comments and questions, and so I'm going to talk about warriorship and war, and some other things, wisdom. Now, when I talk about wisdom, there's all kinds of wisdom: money wisdom, business wisdom, warrior wisdom, just about any kind of wisdom you can, sexual wisdom. And the more wisdom you have, it just is obvious that things are going to be easier in regards to that area of wisdom. Okay? So people have not taken issue with, but commented on the fact that, that the earth, sometimes I get kind of a George Carlin attitude, and I start joking about love and light, and it's almost a joke. It's kind of half serious, but there's a message that I'm trying to send, and I'll get to that later, because it has to do with this attitude about war and warriorship and hurting anybody else and this and that. Okay. First of all, it's good to have warriorship wisdom, and the way you get that is by studying strategy and everything there is about different types of strategy for different types of situations. In order to have war, you have to have an opponent, right? And so if you learn how to circumvent the opponent or learn how to deal with the opponent, then there's no war, is there? You circumvent it, you go around it, you back off from it, or if you don't have any other choice, in some cases, you have to confront it. So when I say I teach all things, I mean that. When I said in my last video that I teach how to take care of yourself on all levels, warrior, 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 spiritual warrior. There's nothing wrong with the word war unless you make it an opponent. Then it becomes something that you battle with, just like anything else. I know this is kind of a hard concept to follow sometimes, and it seems contradictory. Well, that's exactly what I say in my book, Listen to the Wind, Speak from the Heart, about being a Taoist warrior. That it seems contradictory, but it isn't. And I also say that I am perfect in that I am not perfect, or a Taoist warrior is perfect in that he is not perfect. Now people are really scratching their head. But it's important to know that you have to have wisdom about everything. And so if there's a part of you that's a warrior and you try to turn your back on it, the Lakotas say that that's Nagi, or the ghost self. Whatever part you're turning your back on that's dark, that you don't like, you can't do that. You have to integrate it into your personality so that it doesn't become an opponent, so that you're not at war with yourself. Okay? Now there's all kinds of wars, and there have been wars, and there's been tribes that have warred with the blue coats, and you have to know the stratagem or the strategy or the whatever it is. You have to, first of all, you have to accept all parts of yourself. Okay? You can't deny any part of yourself. Just like I said before, it's got to be integrated. You have to embrace it and love it. You can't say, oh, that's bad. There is no bad, there is no right, there is no wrong. How many times do I have to tell you people this? It's all an illusion anyway, in the duality that we call life. So if I talk about things and I talk about how I'm gonna, I might have just got back from the park and had a martial arts lesson with somebody and be all pumped up about fighting or the art of fighting or the martial art. Okay? And I might feel real good about it, teaching that to somebody so that they can take care of themselves. Now, is there something wrong with that? No, there isn't. Get over it. That's why I go to these little George Carlin-ish things and say, love and light, and let's change the world with our thoughts, and it's just almost kind of a joke is what I'm trying to say, because people get so serious, and there's more than one person, believe me. And of course it's all about love. We know that. And as one person said, giving and receiving love. Okay? But when you become enlightened, you realize that wisdom encompasses a lot of different kinds of wisdom, like warrior wisdom and sexual wisdom, like I said before, and I'll keep repeating it. I don't have any limitations. I'm a free spirit. You don't beat yourself up because you might think that you might punch somebody in the face or have to because they grab your shoulder and try to do something to you. What are you going to do? Let them beat you up? No, you embrace that person in a sense by connecting with them on a different kind of level. Aikido even says you can vortex them into your circular. It's all about taking their center, taking their energy, fusing with their energy. Now you can either subdue it in several different ways, circular or linear. Linear or coming straight in means you're a little harder, where circular means you just throw them out into the cosmos. People are too hung up on particulars about, ooh, that's good, and ooh, that's bad. Just like sex. Okay? So, oh, that's so naughty. And then they go right out and do it. Why? Because they want to experience naughty. Is there anything wrong with that? No, not really. There's nothing wrong with anything. It's all an illusion. When Krishna talked to Arjuna, he told him that. Man, I don't know how many times I've gone over this. I'm an illusion. I'm not real. I'm just energy pattern. And people are so hung up on this thing about we can't even think about war. We can't even acknowledge that there is war. Really? That's like saying I can't acknowledge my Nagi side or my dark side and embrace it and fuse it into the whole big picture. You can't turn your back on things, you have to transmute things. Sometimes I just speak and spirit comes through me. Now you can say, you can believe this, you can have your own belief system, you cannot believe it. You don't have to believe a thing I say, not a damn thing. That's another point I have to make here. Because the only reason that people get upset is because they think they have to accept everything I say, and you don't have to. You can just walk away from it. Don't try to convert me, though, because half the stuff that I'll always listen, don't get me wrong. I have my glass is always, there's room for more, okay? I'm always learning from everybody. In fact, sometimes somebody will make a comment or say something and I'll go, "Oh, wow," and I'll start thinking about that more and then I'll get more wisdom on it. But the more I think about it, the more I think about these things about thou shalt not do, or thou shalt not think, or thou shalt not do this or that, or thou shalt not speak of, the more I reflect on that, the more I realize that, or the more wisdom I get on it. And I'm not saying I'm 100% right. I don't want anybody out there to think that Thunder thinks he's 100% right. I'm telling you, like I told you in my last video, I can only teach you what I know. And if it's something you want to know, then I'm there for you. If it's something you don't want to know, there's the button right there somewhere. Just turn me off. Go somewhere else. Bye-bye. It's simple. Just like TV. If you don't like it, turn it off. I'm just trying to impart some wisdom. Well, let's just take let's take the warrior thing again, because that seems to be a real big sticking point with somebody. How are we ever going to have a peaceful world if we think about war, or we talk about hurting other people or defending ourselves even? How are we ever going to have a... Well, let's look at a tribal thing. Let's look at Crazy Horse, okay, because he's one of my favorite people. He was a spiritual person. His real name was Sunkewiko. I'm not going to spell it for you. It's just Sunkewiko. But they called him Gigi, which means light air, because he was different than the rest of the Lakota people. His hair was lighter and his skin was a little lighter. They don't know why. Nobody knows why. Maybe he came down from the stars. Who knows? But the point is this, is that he was a true warrior, and he went into battle and he fought and he killed. But he was a very spiritual person. Can you do both? Well, I guess so. Because, when he went out and counted coup, and when he said, "Hoka-hey, it is a good day to die," or "Courage up, my boys," and went out and fought Custer at the Little Bighorn, or the Greasy Grass, and wiped him out, does that mean he was a bad person all of a sudden because he was defending his people? Because his people to him meant more to him than himself. It would be like somebody attacking his own personal self. But yet he was the kind of guy that when he went out hunting and got some game, he would walk by the teepees of the people that were infirm or old or whatever and give them food first, and then he'd just keep enough for his family and go back home. So he was a giver too. And tribally, the Lakota people had a ritual where when they went out to war, they put on a certain mindset, or they got into a certain shapeshift, and they went out and they did their thing. But they did a ceremony, like I said, they did a ceremony to get into that. They went out and did their thing, and then when they came back, they did another ceremony to let go of that. I find that interesting. And then Crazy Horse would sit in the trees instead of, sometimes they had a big celebration about all the coup they counted or how many of the enemy they killed or whatever. And they would talk about it, almost bragging, but it was a ritual. Maybe it was to get stuff off their chest or try to make lighthearted of it or whatever. But Crazy Horse didn't take part in that. By all accounts, he sat up in the trees and just watched it in contemplation. And how do we know what people like Geronimo or Lozen and the Apache tribes, or Victorio or Nana, how do we know what they did after they came home from a raid? Maybe they had a little ritual too. Now, a lot of people come in and they call themselves New Agers. Okay, this is the New Age. Man, when I was trying to put my book out there, they tried to make you pick a category. New Age, religious. Mine didn't fit any of those. Okay. They didn't have Native American Taoist spirituality, philosophy, wisdom. Okay? I know a lot about a lot of different things. I have wisdom about a lot of different things. Do I know it all? Of course not. I never claimed that, never will. But I come from a tribal angle. And no, I'm not mad because, you know, I don't hold on to bitterness because of what the white eyes or what the European man did to the indigenous people. I don't hold on to that. I might mention it to wake people up as to what really happened about it. But if I was to hold on to bitterness, then that would mean I wouldn't like white people or I wouldn't like other kinds of people. And we've come a long ways towards enlightenment about accepting all tribes and peoples and tongues and that type of thing. Fool's Crow, and who was a great Lakota medicine man, and I did a video on him, said that we're all one, okay? We shouldn't try to keep our secrets from anybody. We should share things that are going to help other people, and all tribes should unite as one. Okay. Now, if you go back to Crazy Horse and this whole thing with Custer and the fighting and the warriorship, and there were wars before there were even white people, the tribes had little skirmishes and stuff between themselves, sometimes big ones, but they were more honorable. They weren't about resources necessarily, although land came into play sometimes, but it wasn't the land itself. I guess it was more like territory or a place where they could feed their livestock or hunt for different kinds of four-legged ones. So I'm not trying to say they didn't have war. They had war, but it was a different kind of war. It wasn't like the wars you see today. People will say war's war. You can war within yourself about how you shouldn't like war. Okay? Whereas if you take the war and warriorship and just go, oh, that's not an opponent, I can integrate that, then you just do it. And we live in a illusion, okay, that we call reality. I get that. I've said that so many times. Okay? It's an illusion. So let's not get all hung up on right and wrong and good and evil and this is right and that's wrong. I'm not saying that there isn't, you know, two ends of the spectrum here, yin and yang, dark and light, but you can't have one without the other. This kind of stuff is almost impossible to explain unless you really put on your thinking cap or open up the top of your head like the Hopis say and speak to the Creator through the crown chakra, the energy center on the top of the head. War is just a word for confrontation or strategy concerning another, or even debating another. That can get out of hand too. But I don't want people to walk around thinking that Thunder is just a bloodthirsty warrior, likes to go out and kill people for no reason, just because I teach the martial arts or just because I speak about warriorship. Get over it. And I'm not directing this at any one person, I want you to know that. Whoever is out there listening, because a lot of people have this issue. I've heard it from more than one person. In fact, I talk to myself about it. I go over it continually in my own mind about, what. But you don't do things, see, you just love other people because you love them. You don't do things to please them. I'm not going to do things on my videos just to please this person or that person and to make them like me, because then that wouldn't be me. I wouldn't be genuine. I wouldn't be Thunder. I would be Thunder's trying to act like this or Thunder's trying to act like that to gain favor. No. It's like having a girlfriend or liking a girl or a woman or loving her even, and she doesn't even know you walk the face of the earth and might even say bad things about you. Well, that doesn't stop you from loving her. You could still love her. It's her that has the problem. I love everybody and I don't want to hurt anybody. But if somebody comes up to me on the street or comes up to you and grabs you on the shoulder or grabs you by the hair or grabs you by the throat, what are you going to do? Just stand there and go, choke me, it feels good. Beat me, whip me. Yeah, I can be funny. Life is humorous, it's comical. Tragedy and comedy. So to get back to my original thing, yes, Thunder does teach the martial arts and he does teach you how to take care of yourself, but he teaches spiritual things too, like what I'm teaching you right now. The more you give power to something as an opponent or as something that opposes you or something that you don't like, then it becomes an enemy and it becomes a war. And then it's a battle within yourself and it's a battle to convince others of certain things. And then there's a thing about me talking about world condition. How about world condition wisdom? See, I'm learning all the time, I really am. I listen to these videos back and I listen to myself speak and I go, I agree with that or I don't agree with that, or I need to perfect that, or I need to change that attitude a little. I realize sometimes I need an attitude adjustment. More than anybody else, believe me, I'm my own worst critic. But then on the other hand, I'm not going to beat myself up. Been there, done that, doesn't feel good. So the other day I was spouting off about how, I would go anywhere and teach anybody all these things that I combine all these things, survival and spiritual practices and Kriya and meditation and martial arts and all these things. And I mean that. And that's what I perpetuate in the Campfire Council, too. The organization that I represent is that everybody learns this kind of thing. That way there'll be less friction. See, as soon as you accept the warrior in yourself, then that's probably when you're going to have less confrontations. That's the whole purpose of the martial arts, really, is integrating that warrior self, teaching others about it, even having little mock battles and making it fun. I work out with my student or disciple or whatever you want to call them, and we spar. Or if I'm with a woman, I might teach her and we might spar. We might pull our punches a little, kind of hit each other just a little bit, just almost like a touch. I call it a massage on the hard side. It's fun, okay? Or you can make a dance out of it, or you can make an embrace out of it, or you can do anything, depending on who you're sparring with. It's all about energy and circulation of energy and combining energy and fusing energy, and all about energy, energy, energy. Everything in the world's about energy. But as soon as you accept that warrior in yourself, then that's when you're not going to have problems, because if you run into a situation where let's say you have a confrontation, it's because maybe you haven't really made peace with that warrior within yourself, and so outside of yourself you have to confront it. Get my drift? Hope so. And it's just the same thing with the world. It's like the same thing with the world about all the stuff that's going on. In a sense, you have to look at it like you're not confronting it, you're not trying to perpetuate it, you're just recognizing that it exists. Just like the dark side of you exists inside yourself. And there's dark things that are existing outside of yourself. So when I write books like Listen to the Wind, Speak from the Heart, I talk about how you integrate and deal with and cope with and look at, or whatever, that whole thing. I hope I'm making sense here to somebody, because this is the stuff I talk about is way up here sometimes, and so the people that are about here, they kind of get it, but they don't get it all. They don't listen to everything I say. They don't rewind the video and go, what did he say about that? So you have to have money wisdom, spiritual wisdom, sexual wisdom, relationship wisdom, wisdom. And every one of these things that are wisdom usually has some kind of strategy involved in it. Life is strategy, let's face it. Realizing strategic options. The more options you have, the better off you're going to be. So take, for example, if you're walking down the street and you only have the option to get beat up if somebody attacks you, that's not a very good deal, is it? You should have at least a couple of other options. And some people don't like guns for that same very thing. Okay, so a gun is a piece of metal and it's got a bullet in it and it's got a little spring, and boom, you pull it back and it hits a cartridge and it explodes and this projectile comes out, and it could hit something like a deer or a person or whatever, and yes, it can kill. Okay? But then here you go, here we have an axe, right? And it's got an axe wooden handle and it's got a piece of metal that's real sharp on it. Oh, we can use, it's a tool, right? Well, you say, well, that's just meant for cutting down a tree. How many people do you think got axed to death in this world? Or stabbed with a kitchen knife? Anything's a tool. Your brain's a tool, a gun's a tool, an axe is a tool, this headset's a tool, my mouth's a tool. Just because you have the tool doesn't mean you use it in a malevolent fashion. This is my hand. You realize that hand and this hand, being a martial artist for as many years, are lethal. These hands are lethal because I can do things with them that make people disappear. Okay, but I can also caress people, and I can also find the acupuncture points and give them a massage and direct healing energy at them. It's all about energy. Intent. Okay? Somebody once told me, you shouldn't try to heal anybody because they got to work out their own karma. Well, that's their belief system. And so there's obviously going to be people that say you shouldn't try to protect yourself because that's violent, or you shouldn't be aggressive to somebody that's attacking you because that you might hurt them. There's no logic there. Okay? Now, if these people in the government were truly into the martial arts and this way of thinking, and realizing that the minute you have an opponent, that opponent means war, opposing, okay? That's a martial arts concept. So then they would be more frugal about things like facing off with Russia and nuclear power like they're doing right now. They would try to avoid it because that's the first precept of the martial arts, is the sword of no sword, avoiding it. Avoiding confrontation, integrating it somehow, and making it a friend, even a lover. Now this video is basically done to clear up some issues that anybody, but if you have any questions, just ask me. Now sometimes people will make comments and I'll post some comments so that I can answer them if they're short enough. But it's better if you have a problem or if you have an issue with me or yourself, or you have questions, email me and I'll answer you directly. $5.95 an hour. No, but my time is worth something, so if you want an answer to a question, think about hitting the donate button on Campfire Council, which goes to the corporation nonprofit. Or try reading my books first, because this covers a lot. Listen to the Wind Speak from the Heart first, and then Emergence, because Listen to the Wind Speak from the Heart lays a foundation, and Emergence is a novel or a story kind of based on that foundation. You will get to know Thunder. Let's put it that way. You will get to know how I think. Now again, do I think I'm right about everything, or no? Because your worldview's different anyway. Even if I was right about everything, to you I wouldn't be, because your worldview's different. And isn't that part of acceptance? Not having wars is accepting each other's worldview without trying to kill that person. It's more like integrating your worldviews. So I guess I'll leave it there. It's about 35 minutes, going on 35 minutes here. Up here is going to, no, over here probably will pop up campfirecouncil.com. Click on it. There's a little box thing with an arrow, or down below in the About section. We are a charitable organization. We accept donations. My books are on there. The precepts or the purpose of the organization is on there. We're getting donations. We're getting funded. Things are going to... There are people that are interested in perpetuating this. So you might consider that. Things will move right along here, and we'll get more and more people that will be involved in two things. Okay? Learning how to be in tune with nature and survive in nature. Getting out of the cities if you can. Having a sacred view or a righteous view or a tribal view of matters. Deprogramming yourself as far as your thinking, what you've been programmed with all your life. Giving to others freely. When you go to a person on the street and give them $1, you don't go, what are you going to do with that dollar? I don't. Some people do. If you donate here, it's out of the goodness of your heart that you believe in this concept, and you believe that you want to be a part of it or perpetuate it or just help it. How about just helping it? Helping another person's idea of a purpose. You don't have to have a reason to give. People are messed up here. Let's get back to the homeless guy. When I give to somebody on the streets, if he wants to go out and buy a bottle of beer or a quick swig of something because he's homeless and he's hurting and he wants to just get numb for a few minutes, am I going to condemn him for that? No. Put yourself in their place. He can use it for food, or he can use it to go lay in a ditch and get passed out for a while so he doesn't have to think about the shit storm he's in. Oh yeah, I know. Think about that before you even say it. Oh, he said a naughty word. Really? Embrace it. Love it. Okay, so I guess I'll end it there. The links are there. The website, you know the drill. And you know I love you. If you hate, you can't hate somebody else for anything, really, even the government. You can be aware of the hate that they perpetuate. You can try to put an end to it somehow. Whatever your way is. But anyway, I'm out of here, and I do love you people, and blessings to you, seriously. May the Force be with you. May God be with you. May Great Spirit be with you. May whoever you accept as your deity and you get your power from be with you. Okay? Namaste. Over and out. Bye.